Good day and welcome to our Coffee and Clouds webcast series event, Cyber Protection for Real Estate Agents and Brokers. My name is Alan Falcon. I'm the CEO of Cumulus Global, and I want to thank you for joining us here, either as a member of our live session, and attending live, or watching this video in this webcast on demand. A couple of quick reminders that the audio is muted, so if you have any questions, along the top right-hand side of your screen, there's an icon that'll open the questions window. Best way to reach me. We'll answer questions as appropriate as I go through the presentation. If not, once I stop the recording, we'll come back and have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. The session is recorded, as I noted. We generally get things posted within a day or two. We'll send you an email with a link. Feel free to share the link if you know of others who might find this content useful. And a reminder that our Coffee and Clouds series of webcasts is only one of the many resources we have available to our community in our resource center on the website. So we invite you to stop over at the website and check those out. Related to this topic specifically, in addition to this webcast today, and this webcast on demand, we've got a couple of blog posts that relate directly to this topic in email security, not just for real estate agents and brokers, but for small, mid-sized businesses in general. We also are offering right now a free rapid security assessment. It's a survey. I'll talk about it a little bit more later on, but it's a quick survey you fill out. We do some additional online research, and we come back to you with a report and some recommendations, identifying gaps, ways to fill those gaps, and providing you an estimated cost so you can manage it against your budget as well. That said, I want to dive into the topic today. We're going to talk about why you are a target, and as a real estate agent and broker right now, you are definitely a target of cyber attacks. We'll walk through the anatomy of attack, how it works, what happens, how you and your clients get defrauded and have your money stolen or your clients' money stolen. We'll talk about steps you can take to protect you, your business, and your clients. And we're doing this because over the last 4 months, we've seen an increase in cyber attacks to the tune of about 600%. Some of it's related to the war in Ukraine. Some of it is just an ongoing trend of increase in cyber attacks. We know that 43% of cyber attacks that result in actual data breaches involve small and mid-sized businesses. Why? We have less security, we have less security expertise, and we also know that 61% of SMBs have reported at least one cyber attack during the previous year. That's a pretty high percentage, and it continues to grow. So why specifically are real estate agents and brokers prime targets for cyber attacks right now? A few things in general. We start out with the fact you're a small business. So typically small businesses have less security expertise. They have fewer security measures in place. Oftentimes they'll look at the cost of security measures relative to the total cost or other costs they're paying for IT services and think, gee, I'm not a target. It's not worth the extra few dollars a month or the extra $10 or $20 a month. We have less in place. Next, real estate agents and brokers, you guys have a lot of data that's in demand. The information you share with clients and prospective clients, families that are buying and selling properties, includes a lot of personal information, and you're involved in financial transactions. Additionally, you work in collaborative teams and have shared administrative support, which means someone can go after your clients using the identity of someone else in your office, and it wouldn't necessarily seem out of place to your client, right? So, hey, you're an agent, you're tied up in closings all day. Someone in the office reaches out to one of your clients to give them an update or ask them to take some action on your behalf. It may not happen every day in your office, but it's certainly not unusual. And we'll talk about how the attackers know when and where that's a possibility as well. Additionally, you've got multiple potential attack vectors. There are many ways that attackers can get access to your information and direct attacks at your clients. Many of you use personal consumer email for your work, which is less secure. You may also have a mix of individual accounts where you signed up for a service, or you're using an email service provided by your broker in the broker team, or maybe you're using an email service provided by the franchise or the office you work out of, or even the corporate brand. In any case, agents and brokers we know and that we've worked with and that have seen these types of security attacks we're going to talk about called business email compromise, they often are actually working with more than one email address. Oftentimes, it gets forwarded from the corporate brand email down to one that's either individual or provided by the broker and the broker team they're a part of. And so there are a number of ways that people can approach and attack and get your information and then go after you and your clients. So what does an attack look like? And I want to say first off that this is based, and the reason we're doing this special webinar and having such a focus on this is in the last several weeks, we've been introduced to multiple real estate agents, both working for brokerages under well-known brands, whose identity and accounts were hacked, and the attackers were able to give false instruction to this agent's clients and other clients of the brokerage, where those individual clients ended up sending money, transferring money to the criminals. One of the agents, in a span of about 4 hours, his clients transferred in total over $150,000 to the criminals. And so let's understand how it happens, and then we can talk about how you prevent it and show you that it's not that expensive to protect yourself and your clients. So the anatomy of attack starts like this. One, you make a mistake. And when I say it, I don't want to be accusatory, and it can be accidental or it can be an intentional act that you should have known better. And it's a mix, right? You might get an email that looks legitimate. You click on a link, you provide some information, attacker gets your identity. This is typical phishing and spear phishing information. And as agents and brokers, you tend to be very active on social media and other digital marketing campaigns. So it's very easy for cyber attackers to build a profile of you and target you with what's called spear phishing, very poignant attacks, leveraging the information about you that's publicly available. Who you are, where you work, family members, things you're interested in, properties you've been working in, working with, it all comes into play and can be used to target to give you a message that looks legitimate. Additionally, you could do something silly like go to a trusted news site. There's third-party content. You click on that third-party content, a video auto plays, and in the background, malware is installed on your computer. At that point, once you've got this malware on your computer, it's not going to be ransomware. They're not going to encrypt your files and demand you go get Bitcoin. They're going to sit on your computer for days, weeks, sometimes even months, and capture information. They're going to intercept emails. They're going to look at files. They're going to look at your phrasing and how you word things and how you address friends versus family versus customers, etc. All through that, and they're going to build a profile, a behavior profile of you, so that they can mimic you and pretend to be you. And that's exactly what they're going to do next. They're going to pretend to be you. And there's two ways that attackers can do this depending on the specifics of their attack. One, in your email account, they can actually set up filters and instructions on your behalf that redirect email messages. A client sends you a message, you never see it, it goes to them, they edit the message and forward it to you. Or even worse, you send a client a message, they intercept it, edit the message, and on it goes to the client. In this type of attack, the attackers will intercept a message to you saying, hey, offer's been accepted, or a message from you. So you're sending your client a note saying, hey, the offer's been accepted. Here are the wiring instructions to transfer the deposit. That's great. The attackers intercept it. They replace their banking information with that of the seller. And lo and behold, your client wires the money to the wrong people. The other way they pretend to be you is they intercept messages, they gather it, and they set up an account that looks and feels like you, that your clients won't be able to tell the difference. They might even impersonate the IP address of your email service, get it to the client with instructions, phrasing. It's totally authentic. The client follows those instructions, and your client transfers funds to the attacker, and can be out thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. So the attack can go out a couple of ways, but it generally all starts in the same place. They get access to your account or your system, or even if they get access to a computer on your network or in one of your fellow agents within the brokerage, they can probably get enough information about you, given the way communications work, to approach your clients and get your clients to transfer them money. So how do you protect yourself? There's two sides to it. One, there's protect your account, and then there's preventing the impersonation. There's certain things you can do to protect your account. Some of these are free and some of these cost money. Multi-factor authentication is probably one of the 2 or 3 best ways you can prevent someone from getting access to your account. Why? Because that second level of verification usually requires physical access to a smartphone or physical location presence or a security key. And so even if they have your user identity or password, they won't be able to successfully use the multi-factor authentication. Next is advanced threat protection on your email accounts. This is a service that's beyond just spam and virus filtering. That's easily worked around these days. This actually reads the email, tests the links, opens the documents in a sandbox somewhere, decides whether or not it's safe, and if it's not safe, doesn't deliver it to your inbox. Um, and if it is safe, we'll deliver it. Now, certainly on your desktops, you should have next-gen endpoint protection. So it's not just a matter of looking at, what are the known viruses and is this file one of those? It's actually letting files open, watching their behavior. If they start to do something wrong, stopping it and rolling it back and notifying you, right? And so next-gen endpoint protection isn't the stuff you get for free when you go to Best Buy and buy your laptop, or you order it through a friend or an IT company. It's additional software you need to pay for and put on your environment. That said, nothing's perfect. If someone gets access to your machine, make sure all of your data is encrypted. It's very easy to encrypt the data on the hard drive of your laptop, and it doesn't really cost you anything to do it either. And finally, protect yourself from DNS and web attacks. Filter the information that's coming down from the web to make sure there's no malware and spyware hidden in that information. Preventing impersonation is really about how your email service and your domain is set up. And there's 3 levels of protection, all of which sort of work together. The basic is Sender Policy Framework. This prevents people or helps prevent people from pretending to be sending the email from you because it protects the IP addresses that you use and the internet addresses that you actually use from the services you use to send email. Domain Key Identified Mail, otherwise known as DKIM, actually locks part of the message and will indicate if the message has been tampered with in transit. And then DMARC, which is Domain-Based Message Authentication Reporting and Conformance, combines SPF, DKIM, and some other factors, and not only locks down where the email is allowed to come from and that it hasn't been tampered with, but it gives the recipient email server instructions on what to do if something doesn't appear right or if it doesn't validate. And that you get that reporting feedback so you know as the sender if someone's trying to hack your account or pretend to be you, or if legitimate emails are getting blocked for other reasons. And so you get a good sense of your deliverability and the reliability, as well as really preventing those impersonation attacks. So 2 sides to it. And as I mentioned, some of these things are free and some of these cost money. And don't panic about the dollars yet. We'll get to that in just a few moments. Before we talk about how much it costs to protect yourself, I want to talk about the business impact of a breach. Okay, in today's modern world, data breaches, particularly involving financial data and personally identifiable information, are not to be messed with. The biggest impact we've seen with the agents we've worked with who've had these types of attacks be successful is a loss of trust and reputation. Because who is going to recommend you? If a client loses $10,000 or $15,000 to a cyber attack, are they going to recommend you to your friends when it's time for their friends to look for a house or sell their property? Of course not. And so long-term, having such a breach can be hugely damaging to your practice and your business. Then it comes down to the fact that legally, these types of breaches are required to be reported in almost every state, in some cases even to the federal government. And with that, you can end up having civil actions by the attorney generals, things of that nature. In Massachusetts, for example, state laws regarding the breach of personally identifiable information, by law, it's never deemed to be an accident. It's always deemed to be an act of gross negligence. So the government, the attorney general can fine you. And if you're sued and you lose, you pay triple damages, right? And so those civil actions, both from the government and your clients, certainly create a huge financial liability. And the terms of those penalties and lost lawsuits, and of course, legal fees, time, and energy. On top of that, what we've seen with both of the cases that we've worked with and helped out with in the last couple of weeks is that the agents did the right thing. They were victims of a crime. Their clients were victims of a crime. They notified the local police. The police bring in the FBI. Next thing that happens is all of their computers are seized as evidence, so they can do the forensics analysis. When it's released from the police, the cyber insurance company wants the access to the machines to do their forensics analysis to see if they can identify the cause and file the claim. And so there's a huge disruption to operations, as well as time, energy, stress, trust, financial, and legal impacts. This is not something you want to go through. And there's a reason why almost 2/3 of businesses that experience a significant breach fail within the next 6 months. And you might be thinking, well, I've got cyber insurance, you know, um, I'm covered. Well, you may actually not be covered. As you recall, when you signed up for your cyber insurance, your agent brought you the policy, you or your IT resource filled out a checklist of things you do to protect your environment. And right now, given the nature of cyber attacks and crime and the nature of cyber insurance, the insurance companies are actually requiring that you demonstrate compliance with your policy application documents before they'll even entertain settling a claim. And we've had a number of businesses, not just in real estate, but other small businesses as well, who've gone to file a cyber insurance claim, and the cyber insurance company comes in and says, oh, in your checklist, you said that you have automatic operating system updates enabled and patch management verification procedures. Show us how you've verified the last 4 patches that have been applied, right? Now, if you can't produce logs, documentation that you actually looked at the updates and verified that they were applied correctly, then you're out of compliance and they'll deny the claim. So cyber insurance, unless you're really on top of your security game and you're actually following the policies and procedures you claim you said you had when you filled out your insurance application, you actually may not be covered and it might not be there for you. And you might end up fighting the cyber insurance company as well as all of the other issues. So that said, what's the cost of protection? And again, here we're focused on preventing the attack and preventing the impersonation. There are other things you should be doing, such as data backup and a business continuity solution to protect your business on a broader scale and to recover from a successful attack. Here we're just talking about the cost of protection. A lot of what we've talked about is free. That's the good news. Multi-factor authentication is something you set up and configure with your software. Data encryption on your local machines, on your laptops and PCs, doesn't have to cost money. And setting up sender policy framework in DKIM don't cost anything as well. Now, granted, you might need to pay your IT people for a half hour of work to make this happen, but hopefully they'll do it for you because it's the right thing to do. If not, give us a call. The things that you need that you need to pay for total up to less than $1 a day. In fact, $1 per day is really at the top end of what you would ever pay for this, this bundle of services. Advanced threat protection, as we talked about, the next-gen endpoint protection, that protects the incoming email and it protects the desktop and the files and everything from spreading. DNS and web protection help prevent people from pretending to be you and filters web content so you don't download viruses and spyware. And DMARC, which really pulls together all of your email level protections in a way that makes impersonation nearly impossible. And all of that, again, less than $1 per day. So when we look at the risk and the potential disruption or destruction of your business because of a breach versus the cost of protection, I hope you see and agree that the cost of protection is worth it. So what are the next steps that we're talking about here? First, assess your risk and your needs, right? Again, for us, this is pretty cut and dry. There's some basic things you need. Now, there's more you can do out there, but there's some basic things we think you need to do to protect you, your business, and your clients. And let's start with that free rapid security assessment. The link is on the screen, bit.ly/SMBRSA. SMBRSA is all caps. It will take you 3 to 4 minutes to fill out the question, so it's not rigorous for you or time-consuming for you. We get notified, we take the information, we do some additional investigation and research on our side, and we'll come back to you with a detailed report of what security measures you have in place, which you don't, and how much it would cost to fill the gaps, in which gaps you should prioritize filling, so that you get a roadmap and an understanding. From there, you can select what you need. And we're going to share with you what we think you need. But again, it's always a business decision. And different businesses put different value on level of protection and security. But again, we're not talking, per email or per person, tons of money. We're talking less than $1 a day. And then once you pick what you need, execute. Select what you need. We'll put it in place. We'll get it up and running for you. It's that simple. And so we ask you to contact us, and we'll help, and we'll take you through this 3-step process. So at this point, we generally open it up for Q&A, but before I do for the live session here, I want to take a moment and share my contact information so those of you who are watching it on demand can ask any questions if you have them. info@cumulusglobal.com hits our general inbox. Someone will get back to you within a couple hours at most. You can also reach out to me directly. It's best to do by email. I'm not great about answering the phone when I'm busy or returning voice messages in a timely manner, but I do check my email constantly. So if you send a note to afalcon@cumulusglobal.com, myself or I'll ask a member of my team to get back to you shortly. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have or to get you started on the free rapid security assessment. And so for those of you watching on demand, I want to thank you for joining us here for cyber protection for real estate agents and brokers. I hope this information has been helpful to you and gives you food for thought and even spurs you to action. Let us know if and when and how we can help. Thank you so much and have a great day.